Have you been watching WildEarth and dreamt of being right there on safari with one of the guides? Well, now you can. WildEarth is offering you a chance to buy a ticket to dream. You or a friend can hop on board a live WildEarth show and join our guide on safari. The ticket is redeemable at any of our locations, anytime in the future. Only a limited number of tickets are available, so don't wait. Get your ticket now and start dreaming. Terms and conditions apply.
Hello, Mama. Just checking us out, everybody. There's no aggression here. Very relaxed. A herd of elephants moving around your car like that is truly, truly magical.
Tune into WildEarth every single day. It's in your nature.
This is Rusty. He's my favorite vehicle and we've been through all the good times here in the bush. Now, if you feel a connection to Djuma Game Reserve like I do, then we have a fantastic opportunity for you. You can have your name engraved on a brushed metal plaque just like this one, and we will attach it to Rusty so you can always be with us on safari in spirit. We will even send you a digital photograph once your plaque is mounted on Rusty. Spaces are limited, so grab your spot now.
My name is Taylor McCurdy and I work for Eco Training. I love hearing from all of the viewers. However, I particularly enjoy those of you who have been watching for a few years. Your questions are just so advanced and they really get me thinking. If you'd like to ask a question on WildEarth, you need to register on our website. Once you've done that, head to the live safari page and submit your questions below the live feed.
This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. Welcome to Djuma Private Game Reserve again this afternoon, where we have it in Ghana, same sport. No. Good afternoon, everybody again. We had Djuma Private Game Reserve this afternoon. We started actually with it in Ghana, just to check whether he's still around in his position, where he's still around, lying now very far down in this drainage line systems. And my name's Andrew this afternoon, and then I have Simon on camera. It's our beautiful Tingana. He's lying in the shed. And looks like also the hyena still haven't moved from that last spot, but it's still out of reach for us to see it right now. It's beautiful shed where it is right now, where now the temperature of the day, 32 degrees Celsius and 89 Fahrenheit. Which indeed is warm. Remember, we're coming to you live from this location this afternoon. We're happy to take your questions and comments. You can register. There's ways to go register on WildEarth website, and head over to the live Safari page, and then you can start to submit your questions and comment from there. We will take them, answer them live for you right now. And if you are under the age of 18, you can pop us an email on kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. Adults still use Twitter, #WildEarth, also on YouTube channels at FC. It's quite a beautiful scenery for such a leopard to be, where it's down in the river, where it's a lot of a shadow, and the kills still refrigerate. Still a lot of flies in that. So you're asking which one is stronger between a leopard and a hyena. Hyena, they're still stronger, more than a leopard. Due to their bites and these teeth they have, and one of the animals that they pushes sometimes too much to dangerous situations, where many of them sometimes they come out without maybe one leg is off. From lions, they sometimes take risk, approach lions, and the lions kill those ones. And at this stage right now, wasn't going to be anything. We don't know when he's last fared in that kill, but it happens when leopard have a kill, so a few times a day, maybe 4 times, 5 times a day, depend. Because he get hungry so quick by digesting, painting like that. Makes him feel hungry again. You're saying you're starting with the Duke, the Leopard. I mean, Ngana itself. It's not actually a very bad day to start with. Begin with a drive. And I decided to come this position because I wanted to know what happened, whether it happened sometimes by mistake, he dropped his kill. Then he hasn't. He's still taking care of it. Still right up in that tree. And he's lying comfortable. He's not actually hesitant that hyena will steal. Hyena don't climb trees. Oh, hello. He's looking at us or looking at the meat itself. Is that a hippo I'm hearing on the background? Again, we're still south of Gary Dam here. So sometimes we look for leopards, we don't find them. If it happens that they have a kill somewhere, where nobody find them and nobody can get in. And they're spending time there not to move too much around. For 2-3 days, possibly 4 days sometimes. So Anderson, you're asking if he would still eat in that. And yes, he will still eat in that, even though he's too far from it. But far from it it's actually something to do with giving it a little bit of a distances. But for him to take it easy, lying comfortable on the ground. So, but you know, it's starting to get a lot of flies there. Maggots will respond soon to that meat. And that's where now it's going to be started pretty much to rot. And he still eat meat with maggots. That's the carnivore species. So the kill to feast, not actually, nothing goes to waste for sure. When he goes to that meat, all flies are just going to go crazy around, fly around on his face, but he's still going to go through the meat. And for the hyena to find himself into this spot here, it's because they trek so much behind the kids. They're a very good tracker, or smell where the leopard had moved through. Beautiful scenery here, green grasses. Anything will approach him, you would notice because it has to disturb the grass. All the Natal Franklins calling back there, but it's not all about him. It's probably they're doing their own communication. So I'm gonna try stay put here while I'm sending you over across to Lauren to say hello to everybody.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome on board, and what a perfect way to start the afternoon drive. I am huddled over around my monitor to not block the view, so I'll turn around for you all. My name is Lauren, and I have Davy on camera this morning. We've came to one of the best pans in Djuma, and we're just admiring that dragonfly. It's one of the more common species that we see around here. And the view that Davy is giving us right now is actually perfect because you can see that the forewings, the ones at the front, and the back wings are not equal in size. Thank you, Dragonfly. Are you listening to every word I say? So you see the forewings are actually slimmer. They're the same length almost, but the forewings are slimmer and the hind wings are much, much broader, especially at the base. As a key identification feature for the dragonflies themselves. Ooh, and this individual has just been far too perfect. Taking a rest from all its activities as a dragonfly. I wonder if we can find any damselflies for you around here, which we could possibly do a comparison with. That's going to be tricky. Now, just an update from this morning. In case you missed it, we had Tandy. We also had Kuchava, but that was a bit of a disaster. And we managed to catch up with Tandy. She was hunting, and she seems to be sort of really utilising Gowrie Main at the minute, which is our southern boundary. And she seems to cross from Gowrie Main to Chitwa, and then back across Gowrie Main over to Torchwood and back and forth. So I think we may be lucky to find her. She was also with her son. What do you spot there, Davy? And that's exactly my plan for today, to go back. Maybe when it's just a little bit cooler, we'll spend some time at Chitwa Dam and try and see if we can locate Tandy and Cup. Kuchava and her son ended up heading on to Cheetah Plains. So unfortunately, we can't traverse there. Have we spotted another one? Dragonflies are not easy. Oh, there's one right there. You see it? I really don't know how to explain it to you. Here we go. It's in up the top. There we go. Look at the views. The most delicate yet incredible little insects. Morgan, I get asked this a lot actually, and it's very short, unfortunately. Normally, when summer ends, the dragonflies end, as with most insects. Very similar to butterflies and moths in that respect. They have different stages in their life cycle. So as an adult, you're obviously looking at an adult right now, it can be anywhere from a few weeks to a few months. Some species may live up to a year, but that's very rare. So that's why the insects are always so busy, because normally they've got very, very short lifespans as an adult. The nymph phase, which is a juvenile phase of a dragonfly, is aquatic, and it can actually live in the water anywhere between 1 to 6 years before it transforms into a dragonfly like we see right now. So the nymph phase is actually longer than the terrestrial airborne phase. It's a very short life cycle. And you know, when winter comes here, everything changes so suddenly. It's a completely different landscape. It's barren, it's quiet. And this dragonfly's just shown off now. And you can actually get a perfect view of the little flexible foot there. Might need to hear that name one more time, Jared, but they eat other insects, small ones. So mosquitoes, gnats, flies, katenda. I hope I got that right. So yes, they're carnivorous and they'll actually catch their prey in mid-air. Mosquitoes are their favourite. That's why dragonflies are so great to have around, especially high numbers of them, because they can stay around freshwater water bodies and they will feed on all the mosquitoes. There's actually a wonderful program in the Maldives where they actually create freshwater ponds. They're man-made because there's no fresh water there really, and they keep a very specific type of freshwater fish. And anytime any mosquito lays their eggs on the surface of the water, the fish just eat them. And it had such a high success rate, it actually brought the populations of mosquitoes down quite dramatically because it targeted the eggs. It targeted the offspring. And they have a lot of problems over there, not with malaria, but with dengue fever. And I've had dengue fever, and it's really, really awful. Really awful. It's quite an awful experience to go through, and it can be fatal. So it's a big problem over there, which is why they target trying to get rid or at least reduce the mosquito populations, and they use the fish. But dragonflies don't eat the eggs. They target the adults. The weaver's as busy as ever. Oh, they're mating. Oh, we're never going to get them. That's our goal today, Darby, to get some mating dragonflies on screen. What do you think? We'll try for you. We'll try. Okay, so we're going to bumble on south and slowly start our search for Miss Tandy.
So we're still sitting here with our leopard in Ghana. So now he decided to change a little bit. He shifted just slightly more to the other side from where he was the last time. And then his meat is still safe, and it's quite a lot of a shadow here. And it's quite thicket. That's why impossible for most eagle to spot or vultures. And there is a fly still making a lot of their way through. Our feed and our live eggs. Of course, maybe in the morning tomorrow will be a lot of maggots there as well. But he's still gonna love it. Finished it off everything. So the smell will come out probably middle of the night because it's been here since yesterday. And the content has been separated from this animal. It's probably dropped, and smell was everywhere here when we arrived this morning. Probably this is what attracted the hyenas to come into this area immediately. But only one hyena. Maybe by tonight there will be more of them.
and welcome to andBeyond Ngala, where we are hoping to be as lucky as Andrew at Djuma this afternoon. We'll see if we can find a leopard or lion or dogs, I guess any carnivore for that matter. We'll even take mongoose, eh, BK? My name is Marna, and with me behind the camera is BK. And like I was saying, first prize would be leopard, but we'll take any carnivore. We are driving along, well, we're driving on a road that runs parallel to the Timbavati River at the moment. It's a nice thick area, lots of dense vegetation here, lots of big trees as well. And so far, we've driven a part of the riverbed. We picked up some seeds. We looked at some tracks. Some impalas here, but no tracks that we were looking for yet. Oh, look at all the little ones. Oh, there's a whole bunch of them. Let's wait for them to cross. I mean, this was the perfect meal for a leopard. It was one sitting in the shade somewhere here watching the impalas. These little ones, that's the perfect meal. How cute is that? I love when they bunch together like this, forming these little creches. This is quite a large herd of impalas. And there's a lonely wildebeest with them as well. You can see on the right there. Actually looks like they're all moving into the shade. And so they're heading in the direction of the riverbed. There's a little bit more shelter on that side. But, you know, you can always count on the impalas. If nothing else is out, you will see an impala. The baby impalas are adorable. The perfect or the exact replica of the mother. I think they're adorable. Impalas in general are quite beautiful, I think. Look at them crossing the road in front. All right, we're going to send you back to Andrew at Djuma.
So now we've got a visitor here in this leopard sighting of a Tingana. It looks like a plated lizard making its way through this area for its hunt. This is what happens sometimes when a leopard sees these lizards. They would hunt them when they're hungry. But not right now. It's actually far from Tingana. Right now, it's actually a little thing anyway. You hardly hear it move through these grasses. More of these plated lizards there are diurnal, they move during the day only. And at night, they would be in holes. Is it trying to, what you see there is breathing under the throat. And they also have external ears as well. Hardly to see them right now. They will hunt for anything. Cockroaches. Small beetles, these centipedes, all of those. So I'm going to try stay put again. I'll be sending you across to Phinda to say hello to everyone.
Good afternoon from andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. We've come out into the plains of the far south, one of my favorite parts of the reserve. We've started at a waterhole that those of you that watch often will be quite familiar with. We've seen lots of animal activity around here in the last few weeks, and this afternoon is no exception. Have a look at all these Marabou storks wading around through the water, looking for any fish or insects, anything really, anything alive or that was once alive and is now dead in the water. My name's Damon, and behind the camera we've got Owen this afternoon, and we're going to be, like I said, exploring these plains to go see if we can't find any maybe rhinos to start the afternoon with. It's really hot here today, and so I think with it being so hot, the rhinos that we're after will probably be looking for water like this or for a mud wallow to go and cool off in, and then maybe a bit later, once it gets a bit cooler, we'll go try and find I know that those of you who watched this morning or who watched with Grant, you guys saw that lioness with her youngsters and that zebra carcass, so we'll maybe head in that direction a bit later. Maybe if we're lucky, a cheetah as well in the mix. But for now, let's have a close look at these Marabou storks. We've only just arrived here, so I have not yet had a chance to look through my binoculars to see exactly what they're eating. I've just seen them kind of stab their bills into the water once or twice. And it looks like there's been quite a big disturbance around the water today. And so all that churned up soil might have exposed some insects' burrows or little invertebrates living in the upper layer of the soil, because I saw some other insectivorous birds here also sitting on the ground. There was a European roller just a second ago, but it's now vacated the area. So Owen and I have just been discussing the appearance of these storks. I don't know if any of you have seen them. I'm sure many of you have seen them before, but have a look at those heads of theirs. Almost look like they're going bald. There's that very pink skin and that very fine fluff growing around their heads. And a very heavy, very powerful bill. It can be used for so many things, like I was saying. You can catch fish with it, pluck up insects, and even go through a carcass, make short work of carrion. There we go, there's one on the far left that just caught something. I think it's a grasshopper. It just picked it up off the ground. I don't know if any of you are able to see that. There's still a couple of European rollers that are flitting around. There we go, one just caught another little insect. So definitely insects that they're after. Like I said, must have been the disturbance here in the soil that attracted their attention. Chevy, you're asking how we can tell the gender of these storks. Chevy, it's quite tough. The male is slightly larger than the female. So I suppose you'd have to see them next to each other to be able to tell. Now, looking at these four storks, see how the two on the left are quite a bit bigger than the two on the right. The two on the right are also a little bit duller. And just looking at that, I'd say that the two on the right are probably juveniles, probably younger birds that have just come into their adult plumage. And then the two on the left, probably adults. But we'd need them to... Oh, look at how big those wings are. They are absolutely massive birds. Just to give you guys an idea for scale, I've just got my bird book here, and it says that their length is about 1.5 meters from the end of their bill. So that's a good 4.5, maybe close to 5 feet, somewhere around there. Just in terms of their length, that's a very big bird. You see when those wings open also, how massive they are. And they use those big broad wings for soaring, riding on thermals as they fly over the grassland, looking for carcasses or any patches where there might be a good amount of food. Another thing we often also see Marabou storks doing is, especially now in these kind of conditions where there's pretty hot weather and dwindling water sources, even though we've had rain, we haven't had enough that it's been able to actually fill our waterholes and fill the river. And so what we've been seeing is that the larger waterholes drying up, the fish are starting to struggle a little bit, and we've actually been seeing die-offs of fish in some of the bigger waterholes because there just isn't enough space for them, there isn't enough oxygen in the water for them. And we've seen at a couple of waterholes around andBeyond Phinda, these storks, as well as other fish-eating birds in good numbers, coming to feed on the dead and dying fish. Have a look at those two on the right there. See how they're walking around the edge of that little pan there? I don't know why, but I don't know if I've said this before, they always remind me of like an invigilator in an exam room, busy pacing up and down in between the rows of desks, making sure that there aren't any students trying to cheat, using crib notes or cheat sheets, so that they've got their hands behind their backs. And just having a look around us, like I said, it's really, really hot at the moment, and the sun is super intense, so there's not very much movement coming from the open plains around us. All the animals are tucked away in the shade, trying to keep out of the sun, or trying to be in the shade, but also exposed to the breeze, just trying to cool themselves down. But these storks are walking around out in the open as if the weather's fine. And one of the ways that they're able to do that, and I'm going to ask you, Owen, if you can just zoom in on either of these two storks coming towards us. If you can zoom in on the upper part of their legs. So have a look. There we go. I'm using my binoculars. So have a look at that Marabou stork's legs. See how low down the legs are black, but then a bit higher up the legs are a whitish color. And there was one individual that was very noticeable on. So what's happening there is that this stork, and I know this is going to sound gross, is basically passing all of its waste onto its own legs. And what that does is that it's basically like wetting itself. So it's wetting the surface of its legs so that as the breeze blows over it, through evaporative cooling, the bird is able to cool itself down. And that's one of the ways that these storks are able to move around, even in the heat of the day, when all the other animals are having to shelter. Also got a big flap of skin. I don't know if you can see this one here, just on the far left here, Owen, right in front of us. Again, just caught something. There's frogs. There's frogs there as well. Just watching through my binoculars, there's a frog that was jumping crazily trying to escape the stork. And luckily for the frog, it managed to get away. They've also got they've got a big patch or a big fleshy protrusion kind of on the underside of their neck. Almost looks like an external lung. Also a lot of blood vessels close to the surface there, and just imagine for them if it was a nice cooling breeze, how that might also help to cool them down. But a nice start to our afternoon. And like I was saying, Owen and I are going to continue from here. There's a big mud wallow that is not too far from here that's formed after the recent rains. And we've been seeing lots of buffalo and white rhino, even the odd black rhino around there. So we're going to leave these storks to continue with their foraging. And we're going to go see if we can't find several large herbivores rolling in the mud. Let's go across to Lauren at Djuma in the meantime.
I just found this little creature on my knee, and I now have a huge, itchy, fiery red welt, which is growing slowly by the minute, because this is a type of hairy caterpillar. I've got my porky pointer, there, just so you can sort of understand how small this little individual is. Now, I don't know the species. I don't know what species of caterpillar this is, I'm going to be honest. But I do know that the hairy caterpillars, as they're called, they have setae, and that's what the hairs are. And they're very, very small hairs. From a distance, you may not be able to see them. And they can actually trigger an overactive immune response in people. And this brings out rashes and welts and pain. And it almost feels like fire coral or maybe a blister beetle, if any of you have had encounters with either of those organisms. And it's not pleasant, to say the least. But I wonder if any of you can identify this individual. It was just moving. It stopped moving. Maybe I should take my porky pointer away. Maybe that's a little bit daunting for this guy, and we can start to see it moving along. But there's a very specific species of butterfly that I was reading about, and the shortened name is M. rebelli. I think it's found in Europe, and basically it's a threatened species, but the larval stage, which is the caterpillar stage right here, they actually impersonate red ants, and they do it so well and so faithfully that ants, the worker ants, because ants have a caste system as well, they actually worship these caterpillars as if they were the queen. They treat the caterpillars like their own queen. And they care for the caterpillar as it's developing and getting bigger and stronger before it obviously forms a chrysalis and turns into a butterfly. And they care for the caterpillar at the expense of their own lives. Can you believe that? And there's lots of sort of research into what on earth was going on. Why would ants do that? And basically, these caterpillars, M. rebelli, when they're getting ready, once they've sort of gorged themselves and fed on all the delicious foliage and green leaves, and they're getting ready to begin their transformation into a butterfly, they actually drop from trees and branches and plants to the ground. And once they're on the ground, they secrete very, very specialized chemicals that only ants will understand, because ants are olfactory. So what happens here, even though it looks like an ant, it's obviously not a red ant. These worker ants are essentially duped. They smell the chemical, and straight away they're duped into believing that this creature on the floor is their queen. Can you believe that? Not a caterpillar, which it actually is. And they believe it's the queen of their colony, based solely on smell, not on appearance or audio or any other sort of sense, solely on smell. So what that actually means is that they carry the caterpillar to safety, they guard, they defend, and they feed the caterpillar. Can you believe that? The caterpillar is completely protected by these fierce, strong ants. And then what happens is once the caterpillar is ready, it will just form a chrysalis and eventually transform into a butterfly and fly away. And it's been brought up, it's been reared, it's been fed and protected by ants, because these ants have been duped into thinking it was their queen. Unbelievable. But I believe it's a threatened species. I think they're quite seriously threatened with extinction, which is why science is looking into them so much. So they're called parasitic because of that behavior. They're leeching from the red ants. But it's not this species, of course. I actually don't know what species we're looking at, I'm afraid. I just know this is a new caterpillar. It's very small. And I think it's only just recently hatched from the eggs. The role of the caterpillar is to get very big and very strong, and very fat, really, in order for it to liquefy and do the transformation. But unfortunately, my leg is not in a good state. David, you're saying what a crafty caterpillar. I know. They're actually, I personally feel that caterpillars are overlooked. They're really, of course, they will transform into moths or butterflies. But they're really incredible, especially in the way that they move and the way that they navigate, the way that they sort of just solely eat. They don't reproduce. Caterpillars don't reproduce. It's the butterfly, the adult form, that reproduces. The caterpillar's role is just to eat. Awesome. Really, they have 6 legs, even though it doesn't look like it. Caterpillars will have 6 legs. Or they're not really legs. They're normally called false legs or prolegs. And they're literally just suckers. Little sort of suction appendages that they can move along the ground. They're not actually legs like the butterfly will have. And now I don't know what to do with this little guy. Do you want to pick him up, Darby?
Porky pointer.
Porky pointer. That's a good idea. I can't risk getting touched by this again. Some reactions can be so severe from hairy caterpillars that people can end up in hospital. Okay, I'm going to do my best to put this little guy back on a leaf, but I believe Andrew also has something very small for you.
Oh, otherwise, like Lorraine. So now we're in this shadow here. It's such a beautiful sighting. Now this is another type of beetles that you see here in this grainy leaf. It's called net wings beetles. Looks like it's actually mating that takes place. Usually male quite big, the female small. And this is actually probably the full grown size. And they grow up to 6.22 millimeter. And they will feed most on plant juices and small insects. They're more likely to come out where they're available during this raining season. In the winter, they won't be around, hibernate, lay eggs that last all winter. But the eggs are laid in the bark of a tree most. Indeed, it's such a beautiful color. It's got looks like two different colors. There's a lot of blacks and dark oranges. But all the male and the females all look the same then. So feeding methods is that we have a kind of like a straw, but nettle. Suffered to asking if the beetle lay eggs. Yes, they do. Depends. Some of them they lay eggs in. This one usually do it on the bark of the tree wood, or end of the falling dry wood, or wherever it's curved a little bit to fit their eggs in there. And some they would do it on the ground. Even these grasshoppers, they would do sometimes on the grass ground. So they do lay eggs. So it's got a So it looks like there's quite a few vehicles coming in this position of Leopard. and there's only one spot to view it clearly. I'm going to give it a little bit of a break now, search around if possible that male lion is still around in that area. I'm going to send you over to Phinda.
Welcome back to andBeyond Phinda, and Owen and I drove past that mud wallow that we spoke about just now. There was nothing in the mud wallow, but we could see from the mud wallow this herd of 4 white rhinos, or this group of 4 white rhinos. It seems like we're a little bit too late. Have a look on their backs. See all of the caked mud that's covering them. Look how dark they are from having rolled around in that rich dark mud. And looking at how dry their backs are already, they probably had their mud wallow quite a bit earlier on today. Like I said, it was really, really hot today. The breeze has picked up a little bit though as the afternoon has worn on. And it's no doubt that cooling wind that has brought these rhinos out of their resting spot for the day. There's a couple of thickets of tamboti trees behind us. Also it's basically a sea of quarry trees also behind us that these rhinos could have rested in out of the sun. And they've now decided that it's time to continue grazing again, continue feeding, have to fuel their enormous bulk. See how there's kind of two different sizes. There's this one that's closest to us, which is quite a bit bigger than the other 3. And then those other 3 all are very similar size. So what it looks like is a mother and her calf, and then 2, what we often refer to as kind of satellite calves that have left their mothers, or that have been pushed away by their mothers when they are about to have a new calf. And they've kind of just latched on to this mother and her youngster for a bit of safety in numbers, a bit of protection, a bit of company. Ooh, look at that. See the big female throwing her weight around there and pushing a sub-adult off of what must have been a really good patch of grass there, a really nutritious patch of grazing. I'm just looking through my binoculars, everybody, and you guys can use the zoom of the camera. Have a look at the grass around where those rhinos' heads are at the moment. The plains look relatively green, but on closer inspection, this grass, and just looking at the grass next to me on the ground, it's becoming very dry very quickly. It's almost like it's desiccating. The sun is too hot, it's too intense. And the last rains that we had brought a lovely flush of green to these grasslands, and it saw the return of herds of wildebeests and zebras and white rhinos. But now, having not had rain for the last 5, 6, 7 days or so, it's all just dying again. The grass is all getting withered away. And what that's going to mean for these rhinos is that they're going to have to do a lot more moving to try and find enough to eat. But see how they're going downhill for now. And using my binoculars again, looking down into the valley there, obviously in the bottom of the dip there, water will be held a bit better, held a bit longer. And so the grazing should be a bit more nutritious down there. Ooh, let's quickly go across to Djuma. Apparently Lauren has found a kingfisher that's hunting.
I've just came across one of my favorites, the pied kingfisher. Black and white. Got all those feathers that stand up in the back of the head. And they are adept at hovering, and we just witnessed it hovering. They're remarkable at it, and not all kingfishers can do this. And what they actually do, I guess, is not really hovering, but they are using a sort of figure of 8 wing stroke, if you like. So with their 2 wings on either side, they're sort of making a figure of 8. So reversing the wing beat on the upstroke if you like to stay in place. And this allows them to essentially hover. But it's a very, very costly form of flight in terms of energetic. It's not easy and it takes a lot of energy. So they can't do it for very long and they will come and rest. So he just hovered and he's now back resting on this little branch here. But it's not classified as true hovering. So he is able to hover in one spot. But true hovering, like hummingbirds, is actually when the bird can move forward and backwards at a rapid rate using their wings, and kingfishers cannot do this, I'm afraid. But they are able to stay in the same place above the water. Now, Davy wants me to get a little bit closer. He's desperate to get close-up views. So, we wanted to show you the bird because, well, you know what happens with birds, everyone. They have a tendency to up and away. Like that. He's hovering, he's hovering. Wow. Did you look at that? Well done, Davy. We didn't manage to get close, but we still managed to get a view of it hovering. Now you can identify the male and female. Oh, and we're off again. Oh, I've lost him. He was getting ready to hover there. They eat mainly fish, so they hover and then dive down with that huge beak of theirs and catch some fish. But now I can't see where he's gone. This looks like a very interesting conversation. Okay, as I try to understand what this conversation is all about, we're going to send you back across to Phinda and the Rhino.
You're back with us here at andBeyond Phinda, and this group of white rhinos is still grazing down the hill. They've now moved towards a group of zebra. See the zebra standing off to the right there? Standing very still, broadside onto the wind, trying to let that breeze blow over their bodies and help to cool them down. And just having a look at this big white rhino cow on the far right of the group. Look, she's turning around. See how she keeps curling her tail up. Almost like she's a bit agitated. There is a vehicle that's passing us, but I don't think that's what's agitating her. There's something it's got her irritated. See that? She curls her tail up over her back. Very often with animals, it's the tail that is one of the most important body parts to watch in terms of trying to understand their moods, almost, if you will. So, for example, an elephant, if it's upset, its tail stands out or sticks up straight behind it or stands stiff behind it. A rhino curls its tail over it, well, a white rhino at least, will curl its tail over its back like this. A black rhino kind of bends its tail up at a right angle. A lion or a leopard flicks its tail viciously from side to side. Yeah, something is agitating this white rhino cow, everybody. I don't know what it is. We saw her behave quite, not aggressively, but I suppose if it was a human speaking to another human, she would have been short with the other rhino, so to speak. She gave it a bit of a bump out the way, moving it off of the grazing that she was busy feeding on, the grass she was busy feeding on. The rhino's also now, or at least the big cow on the far left, standing also broadside onto the wind, letting it cool her down. Such a massive body. Of course, a massive body, very good for living in cooler areas or for surviving the cold, being able to hold temperature better. A larger surface, also a larger volume, bodily volume compared to its surface area. So it loses relatively less heat. But maybe perhaps not as good for cooling down, which is why these white rhinos need to roll in the mud and need to lie in the water, stand in the breeze to help to regulate their body temperatures. Now, see how they kind of are walking away from us down that hill, and that's where the wind is coming from. The wind is blowing from the south, basically straight from the south towards us. And these rhinos are walking into the wind, feeding as they go. And of course that will just help to keep them aware of help them to keep aware of anything that might be up ahead of them. They'll be able to smell if there's lions up ahead, although unlikely that lions will threaten these rhinos. They all look very healthy. And there's plenty of much easier prey for lions in the area to try and tackle. But I think these rhinos are just going to keep on feeding down the hill towards that little riverbed. Like I said, it looks like the grass is a bit greener down there, and that's no doubt where they're going to get the best forage they can possibly find. So Owen and I are going to leave these rhinos to let them continue with their grazing for the afternoon, and we're going to head further south into the plains to go see if we can't find some cheetah.
There's a grounding earthiness to this place that we feel in our ancestors. It's a place where, believe it or not, we evolved as a human species, and anyone who's come to Africa will understand that. The connectivity that the continent has to the person and to people's souls is next level. I am thoroughly looking forward to taking you on your next adventure when we explore all the small and big things.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth. An ever-increasing part of the global population is losing its connection with nature. WildEarth is here to reduce people's stress and anxiety, allowing you to escape into nature even just for a few hours a day. However, WildEarth is expensive to run, and we need help from you to keep this ship going. WildEarth Explorers gives you the opportunity to be part of a program that supports the sharing of nature with the world.
My name is James Hendry, and I work here at Djuma Private Game Reserve in the Sabi sands on the western fringes of the Greater Kruger National Park. My favorite part of getting questions from viewers is that we get to have long and varied discussions about all sorts of different aspects of nature. Because our audience comes from all over the world, it's very special to have different perspectives from everywhere. If you want to submit a question on WildEarth, you need to register on our website. Once registered, go to the Live Safari page and submit your question beneath the live feed.
Have you been watching WildEarth and dreamt of being right there on safari with one of the guides? Well, now you can. WildEarth is offering you a chance to buy a ticket to dream. You or a friend can hop on board a live WildEarth show and join our guide on safari. The ticket is redeemable at any of our locations, anytime in the future. Only a limited number of tickets are available, so don't wait. Get your ticket now and start dreaming. Terms and conditions apply.
So, I mean, I'm still here. It's so cool that, the other guys didn't take long to view this leopard. Now that leopard has moved into the drainage line system. But the visitor here of our hyena still right there. As you can see, the light is penetrating through from the other side. We're looking at the western direction right now. But he's still taking his time, as we know of one of their passionate animal. the hyena, they would wait and wait and wait. Whether something happened, whether it's not happening. But this is their job, to follow behind the kids, steal, sometimes unsuccessful in stealing, or get killed while stealing. And they have incredible. Yeah, indeed, he looks so beautiful. She looks so peaceful. And he is one. It's actually on the ground. Obviously, like dogs, most even cats, those animals that lie down flat. What happens when their ears are touched to the ground? You know, sense of hearing it there, it's great, because then any vibration from the ground way off, then they were able to pick it up. Or anything that touched the grasses here, that I know were able to hear it. Such a peaceful, oh, birds. Orange-breasted bushrak was calling. And far distance, all cicadas all around us. So I'm going to move off, and then we'll come back here. In the meantime, I'll be sending you to Lauren.
We've been watching this green-backed heron, perched in almost an uncomfortable manner, getting ready to strike, but nothing has happened yet. Oh, the white-faced whistling duck just gave it a fright. Well, that put you off, didn't it? It's rather unfortunate. You were getting ready to strike. Doesn't look happy. He was staying remarkably still, frozen in time. They've got really long necks, so they can sort of cling on and just stretch out their neck and fish for any fish or frogs or insects or any sort of aquatic organism. That duck just appeared out of nowhere. You can see he's got his eyes down to the water, having a look if there's anything for dinner. They're incredibly successful as well. I wonder if this is the same individual that we see at Chitwa Dam a lot, and they're very successful with their hunting technique. It requires a lot of patience, but it normally pays off. But he's perched quite high above the water. You see that on this falling over branch. It's not wading through the water like the grey herons do or the storks do. They're much smaller, so they normally position themselves on some sort of branch or ledge above the water's surface. They don't really wade as much. I've found our Kingfisher as well. I'm going to have a look through my binos and see if it's a male or female. Do you see it, Davi? Right up there. Now you see where it looks like it's got a dicky bow tie? You see that? It looks like it's wearing a dicky bow tie. Both the male and female have that, but the males have another breast band underneath and the females do not. And from what I think I see here, I think it's a male. I'm pretty sure it's got another band underneath that dicky bow tie. Black patches. Jared, sorry, can you just ask that question one more time? It's about predators of the heron. I didn't catch the name. Matthew, that's it. So most likely the predators would be bigger raptors. It's quite a small bird, this heron. Let me just quickly check the size for you. It only weighs around 200 grams, 41 centimeters in height. It's really not a big bird, especially compared to the grey heron. So any larger sort of raptors would hunt the heron if it could. Crocodiles would snatch it out the water if they could. There's lots of crocodiles around Chitwa Dam. And any sort of land predator that can go for birds, be it a hyena if they could, a leopard if they could, any of the predators that are opportunistic. You may find that the greenbacked heron chicks will get taken by monitor lizards and snakes. They're really not a big heron. I feel like we could sit all day and just watch this guy not move a muscle. So they sort of wait until their prey's in striking range. And then they stab it. I know that doesn't sound very pleasant, but they stab it with that large beak of theirs. They're also sometimes known to stir up the sediment or the substratum with their feet, and that will disturb any sort of mollusks or crustaceans that are resting on the bottom of the water body, and then they can just dart in and catch whatever comes up. They will also snatch dragonflies if they can. If a dragonfly lands close to them on one of the blades of grass, it will eat the dragonfly. Okay, so I think Davy and I may sit here a little bit longer and hope that this heron has some success. But for now, we're going to send you guys across to Andrew.
Good luck, Lauren. And here we got a very interesting thing, which is a frog sitting in the branches. What is amazing about these frogs always, for their own survival, they got to pick the branches and they can change slightly to colors. Gray, slightly white, light gray sometimes. Gray tree frogs. And there's quite a shadow there where there's not much of a light. You often find them around building houses, villages. It's one of the runnable houses, hut houses for a shade, even inside the house room. And they do important work, get rid of the mosquitoes, insect, flies and that. Ants, these termites will be eaten. If you look under the throat, that's the way of a breathe. Peter, so he's saying the camouflage is amazing. It is amazing. Out here they wouldn't survive much if they don't do that. When they're actually hunted by snakes a lot of time. And those, when they're near the water, it's a lot of water birds, such as the herons. Most, even these kingfishers, those pied kingfishers, they would find feast on this one. So it's a meal for somebody. Most of frogs they hibernate for winter, and they're all available during the wet because so much rain. They gain access to a lot of food, insects. Where in the winter there's no such a insect out here, not many of them. So you're asking how do we identify poisonous frogs? I think that you need to know a lot of frogs around any area very much, and not all of them that are poisonous. So they are, that I know of, one species out here. It's called rubberback frog. It's got a beautiful painting on yellow and a black. And it's such a beautiful frog, in fact. But around the villages, people are aware of that. Toxics, if you touch it, you've got to make sure you wash your hand carefully before you can touch any food. So they produce such a chemical which is a protection against themselves, self-defense. But many of the others, such as this one, no. You can hold them up. You can wash your hand if you want, but then nothing will happen. And that's what I'm talking about. Often it's got to be pouring rain when you see them come out. And you almost mistake them and of a river frog, which river frogs and are then skinny a little bit with the sharpening nostrils. But the rubberback frog are not. So I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna be sending you across to Phinda with a bird.
Welcome back to andBeyond Phinda, where Owen and I are still on our cheetah search. We are checking through the plains, stopping and scanning using our binoculars, trying to get some height advantage where we can, getting up onto the hillsides and then looking down into the valleys below, but no such luck just yet. Another animal that's also looking for height advantage is this European roller that's now just has just dived off of this bush onto the ground. We'll see if it comes back up with anything. There we go. It looks like an unsuccessful hunt, unfortunately, for that little European roller. But how magnificent are those colours? The lovely turquoises and the brownish, almost like a pinkish brown along the back. I don't know if you can see the leaves behind the roller, everybody. See how those leaves are shaking around violently. The wind is blowing quite strongly. And this poor roller is having to, I suppose, just like an aircraft on a runway, having to face nose into the wind to avoid being blown off of its perch. And like I was saying, see how it's perched up there quite high off the ground, using its excellent eyesight to scan the grass below, looking for any movement of any grasshoppers, locusts, all other kinds of insects that can be found in abundance in these plains at this time of year. Oh, and I was just saying now, we were driving through an area of particularly long grass, and it was almost like a sea or a series of waves of grasshoppers and locusts that were bounding away from the road as we drove through the grass. So there is plenty of food for all the insectivorous birds that come down to visit these plains. And that's why these rollers are here. As we've mentioned before, and as the name suggests, European roller, they're a migratory bird that comes all the way down here from North Africa, Europe, and even into parts of Asia, apparently as far as Siberia. And they come all the way down here to feed during this time of the year, to feed on the abundance of insects. I often see them catching the little grasshoppers and locusts that are so prolific in the plains at this time of year. There's lots of other migratory birds that have also come down here, also insectivorous migratory birds, things like redback shrikes, lesser grey shrikes. There's another little bird that's hopping around just behind the roller. I can hear quite a few rattling testiculars calling, and that is exactly what that little bird is. Behind the European roller, a rattling testicular. Well, not too many features on it, quite a drab-looking bird with a very distinctive call. That's it calling in the background there. I don't know if you can hear that. Che, 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 trrr. That's the rattling testicular. But lovely to see a couple of birds. Always wonderful to spend a bit of time with these beautiful summer migrants. Just enjoy the time that we have with them whenever they come to visit. And Owen and I are going to leave this roller for now. We're going to keep on searching for this cheetah. Apparently, though, back at Djuma, the leopard has come back. So let's head back across to Andrew.
Good luck, Damien. So sometimes it's so cool, when you're going to decide when you're going to go. And then finally this leopard climbed trees over here. It's so cool that we've been talking about small thing holding us up. And all we see in Ghana is back in that kill. And you can see all flies disturbed because he's now feasting on his prey. There's going to be another vehicle joining here. It's not actually a lot of space, but we'll see. So we're not sure how many times he actually climbed there today to repeat feed on his carcasses. he's got to make sure it doesn't fall down because hyena is on the ground already. Hyena's busy searching around for any possible anything that falls off. Well, yeah, indeed. I can smell the carcass here. We actually so close to it right now. But the wind is blowing slightly away from us. This morning was a very smell though, because all the contents was spread around on the ground. And the hyena also can smell that too. So it's quite a big male leopard out here, and he's got to make sure he eats everything as he can hear crunch. Anna Marie is saying so cool to see him having some dinner, you know. He did actually very well, the killing Impala around here. And it's also important that he managed to keep it safe since yesterday. Until today. We're not sure what it's going to be like tomorrow. Because he's gonna try eat as much as he can before you move out of this area. So Matthew asking, how do we identify the leopard? Many of leopards, or mostly leopards, they already have a spots patterned around their faces. And all that's how we idea them. Some would idea them if they've been in the area for long. And they know which leopard is which every time they see it because they're territorial. More likely to be in the places where they operate all the time. So if you've been in an area where you understand their range of operational, you would estimate sometimes of which might be. But they have as patterned on their faces. female Impala's getting done. It's getting finished. It's probably it's Impala from one of the group that they hang around in quarantine, which is the western side of the camp. But now they probably forget of what happened yesterday morning. And they're so quick to forget as an Impala. So a lot of time just to get rid of a smell when they separate the content, just to get rid of the smell, and the meat will refrigerate for a while. I'm gonna stay put here.
Welcome back to Ngala. We are still on the lookout for any carnivores, found any fresh, really hot. Bika actually suggested earlier that we look for a mud wallow for ourselves. Haven't found any of those either. We are approaching one of the bigger water holes. We're going to see if there's anything down. And we are operating in the western parts of the reserve this afternoon. Usually a really good place to find wild dogs, which would be a treat. This time of day, any of the cats or the dogs, they'll probably be sleeping in the shade of these shrubs or under a tree somewhere. It's still a little bit hot for them to move around. And even the other animals that we've been passing, like the impalas and the zebras and the wildebeests, they've been standing in the shade. It's very hot. Are they also still taking cover? It's nice and open in this area as well. We sometimes find cheetah in this area. Not that cheetah is very common on Ngala, but in these more open plains, we sometimes find them. And you can see this is quite a nice clearing. Lots of impalas here as well. Got these small shrubs scattered in the clearing, and that's perfect for them. And they sometimes even hunt in the heat of the day as well.
Welcome back to andBeyond, Phinda. Owen and I have been driving around the plains without much luck in terms of finding this cheetah, but it sounds like one of the conservation team has found fresh signs of a female cheetah, and it's in the direction that we're heading. So we're making our way quite quickly to try and get to that area and see if we can't give them a hand in trying to spot this cheetah. Now, with the afternoon cooling off quite a bit now, we'd expect the cheetah to be moving around a bit. If she's still hungry, she might try to hunt a couple more times before it gets dark. The breeze is nice and cool, so that it will afford her. Also now there's a couple of clouds that are blowing in, and it's absolutely magnificent. I don't know, Owen, if you can just have a look off to our left there. There's some absolutely beautiful clouds that are rolling in and slowly moving north, providing welcome shade from the baking sun. I think I got a bit sunburned today, sitting out in the sun. The sun's been fierce today. It's been very hot. And this cheetah would have more than likely spent the day tucked under a bush somewhere, but somewhere where she would still be able to respond accordingly to danger, somewhere where she would have been able to still keep a good lookout for danger and then be able to escape if need be. So what I want us to do is, just while we're here, to just use our binoculars and scan. It's one of my favorite things about the plains of the south of andBeyond Phinda, like I said earlier, is just because of these open rolling hills, we can actually get a pair of binoculars out and try and spot things from a distance. And middle of the day when it's really hot, the odds of actually seeing a cheetah from far away might be a bit less, because she might be, in the shade, tucked away somewhere. If it's a mother with cubs and she's really trying to avoid competition with bigger predators, then you might get lucky seeing her moving around a bit. But now, with it cooling off, there's a good chance that she'll be walking. So I'm having a look through my binoculars, seeing if I can actually spot her moving. But I'm also watching the behavior of all the herbivores that I can see. So I can see way, way, way in the distance a herd of zebra. I can see a herd of Impala. I can see some rhinos and some giraffe. And all of these animals will react to seeing a cheetah. They'll all react in slightly different ways. Things like impalas, which would be in danger if they were to, well, of course, cheetah hunt them. So they would alarm call at the cheetah, and if it was chasing them, they'd obviously run away. Giraffe, while they might not be threatened by a cheetah, by a single cheetah, will still stare at it, and then we'll be able to follow their gaze to see where they're looking. And rhinos as well might behave slightly differently. They might be looking at the cheetah, they might go and run up towards them to investigate them. But I haven't seen any sign of any suspicious activity or any sign of this cheetah. So in the meantime, while we continue to search for her, let's go back to that leopard at Djuma.
Good luck, Damien. So our leopard is still feasting and at kill. He hasn't changed the position, so he's still facing now direction of the eastern side. Probably that's where they're comfortable of the whole meat has been hauled up very well. I've seen hyena returning in and out here. When anything fall off, and then hyena is just ran and grab it. Leopards, they're highly nocturnal, and they hunt by night, also in the day when there's cloudy. But I also seen leopard hunt in a hot day where they move shadow by shadow. They're doing that. So during the day, it's a lot of energy waste. They get spotted. Quickly link Lauren.
We have a leopardess for you. I think it is Miss Sabi. She was just here moments ago. Give me 2 seconds to spot her. A little bit unlucky. Davi, can you see her anywhere? So we just had her walking along the road, and now she's just disappeared because the grass is so long. Let me just go forward a little bit.
Station.
You got her. Keep going. Do you want me to take this link road? Okay, hold on. Ah, there we go. Hello. You are very difficult to see. I believe it's Sabui. And she's on Djuma. Is that Sabui? That's Kalamba. It's been called in as Sabui. I don't think that's Sabui. Anyone help? Abel, I've got her over here. Okay, let's follow her so we can get a better look at her. Hashtag WildEarth, everyone, you keen, eagle-eyed viewers. Well, I've stalled anyway. Hold on, let us get a good look at you. Right behind the car. Full belly, that's for sure. Let's hope whatever female this is stays on the roads. The starlings are not happy, that's for sure. They're really not happy. Flame and grimace, you see that? She's trying to smell and understand what chemicals are on that tree. Someone's probably scent marked this tree and she's trying to interpret it. Interpret the message that's been left behind. Has anyone figured out who this leopardess is yet? Okay, many of you are also thinking Kalamba, but not sure. We need to get a really, really good look at her. Oh no, she's gone into the thicket. That's definitely not going to help us get a good look at her. I'm just helping. There's another vehicle going behind us, so just bear with me. It's either Sabui or Kalamba. I got called in the radio as Sabui, but when I first saw that face, I thought it was Kalamba. I think we've lost our visual for now, everyone. There's a bit of a traffic jam. If it's Kalamba, this is interesting. It makes sense why it was called in as Sabui, because this is very much, we're on the fire break of Djuma, very close to Gowrie, Maine. Sorry, Wendy's having a few issues. She needs to go to the hospital. Come on, Wendy, you can do this. There we go. I agree. Javi and I were talking about that earlier. It's summer, it's thick, it's dense, it's overgrown, it's almost impossible to off-road right now. Slightly dangerous, especially when you've got a cameraman that you're responsible for. But yet we're seeing leopards everywhere. We're joking that you just need to kick a tree and one falls out. They're everywhere. It's unbelievable. I mean, you can go weeks or even months without seeing a leopard here because it is so thick and it is so dense. I don't think that vehicle up ahead also sees her. She's somewhere here. Sabui would definitely use this road 100%, but I just felt it looked like Kalamba. Okay, we're going to try our very best to relocate this leopard, and for now we're going to send you across to Marner at the watering hole.
Right, so we have reached the waterhole, and there are quite a few hippos playing around in the water at the moment. We have got some zebras off in the distance, and it looks like there's actually a hyena there as well. Pika, I don't know if you can see that. There where the lone zebra is, there's a hyena running around for some reason. What are you doing? He's watching the zebra. He's just playing. Probably wants to come down for a drink. Or sometimes what we see during the day when it's hot like today, these hyenas will come and actually lay in the water. So on the edge of the water you sometimes find them laying down. Nice and cool, obviously. And sometimes even if there was a carcass around and they manage to snatch up a piece of that carcass, they might also bring it to the water and they'll stash it in the water. I'm not sure what he's doing though. Looking around. We actually saw another hyena just off in the distance just before we reached the waterhole. Now it could be that there's a den site close by, but we do have quite a healthy population of hyenas on this property. Smelling around. See how he's lifting his head? There he goes. Oh, heading away from the water. Quite a number of hippos here. It's quite hard to count them because the heads keep going up and down. Let's see, I'd say at least 10, 12, 13 maybe. We're going to stay around the waterhole for a little while longer, and we're going to send you back to Lauren. It seems like she's found the leopard again.
It's definitely our princess, without a doubt. It's definitely Kalamba. For a moment you can easily get confused, but it's definitely Princess T. And this is unusual that she's on this road. This is definitely a road that Sabi uses and Tandy used to use. I haven't seen Tandy here in a very, very long time, but Sabi uses his fire break for sure. So it's interesting to see that Kalamba has came this far down south. She's definitely pushing. She was in Torchwood just the other week as well. So we're just going to let another vehicle go in front. We're doing a sort of very tricky leapfrog, shall we say. But at least we got views of her, and it's definitely Kalamba. I can see why it was called in as the buoy, though it's not common for the other vehicles on the southern boundary, which is Gowrie Main, to see Kalamba. She's more north. So I can see why it was called in. But Kalamba's movements are interesting. I wonder why she's here. Trust it to be one of the most overgrown roads on the reserve. Okay, we're going to try our very best to keep up with her, but for now, let's go across to the Rhino at Phinda.
Welcome back to andBeyond Phinda. You will not believe what we've just found, everybody. We came around a corner and Owen just said, oh, there's a rhino. And looking at the surroundings, the thickets around us, look how dense the bush is. When he said that, I had my suspicions. I thought, no, surely it can't be a white rhino. And we looked over, and sure enough, it was a black rhino. And it's now watching us from behind that bush there. So it's just being very quiet. We are downwind of it, so it can't smell us. But it is listening towards us. So I'm talking very quietly in the hope that we can spend a bit of time here and get to watch it for a bit. Look at those big ears. Look at how round they are. A little bit more rounded than the ears of the white rhino that we were seeing earlier. And both of those ears are facing straight towards us. So it's definitely us that it's listening to. Although I think with us talking so quietly, we shouldn't pose too much of a concern to this black rhino. And I'm really hoping that it comes towards us. Now, the brief glimpse that I got of it when it was a bit more out in the open, it didn't look like a particularly large black rhino, so I think it might be a female. But I'm hoping to get a better view of it when it comes, hopefully it comes more towards us. But look at how now when it stands still, how it kind of vanishes into the bush. You would very easily drive past this rhino, not see it if it was sitting still like that. Jerome, you're asking what calls or what noises rhinos make. Jerome, they make quite a few different noises. They make kind of deep grunts and bellows and almost roars. An upset rhino that's trying to drive off another rhino will often make like a roaring sound at it, especially female rhinos that have calves that are trying to chase away amorous males. They'll make a bellowing, roaring sound. They make kind of snorting sounds. A black rhino like this, if it's alarmed, it makes a loud snort. That sounds like a sound effect from a Jurassic Park movie. To be completely honest with you, when you hear that sound, you can tell that it's a big set of lungs that is pushing the air out of its nostrils to make that sound. And Jerome, perhaps most surprisingly, is the sound that rhino calves will make. And even adults, I suppose, if they're distressed, they make like a high-pitched squealing noise. It's a very, very, very high-pitched, almost like a whine. And I'm not going to try and imitate it, because I'm worried that if I do, this rhino might react to it. They're very, very, very reactive to strange sounds, are these black rhino. Any unnatural sound in their environment, or even a sound, I suppose, that's somewhat familiar to another rhino sound, they'll go and investigate it often. And it's because of the fact that they live in such thick bush, living in this very dense environment, where it's very tough to see, and they have to rely on their sense of smell and on their hearing a lot more. I can't believe that this rhino is sitting still like this, though, everybody. We are very close to it. We're probably maybe 35, 40 meters from it, which doesn't sound very close, but trust me, with a big animal like a black rhino, it doesn't feel like that far. It feels like I could get out and walk to it in a couple of steps. And look at how it's got its head down now. It's not listening to us as much anymore. Its ears are kind of going all over the place. It's obviously relaxed a little bit with our presence. Oh, apparently Andrew's got something exciting going on at Djuma. Let's go and have a look there quickly.
Wow, we got looks like another male leopard here. Looks like there are two of them. Another one, we can't see it clearly, but they look like very much, they don't want to actually allow us to get close to them so much. I'm going to try stay far as much as I can so we can get a sighting going. Looks like a two here. It's a male that I'm not sure of yet. Maybe it's at Lawati, but he runs, you know. Let me actually try to keep distance off the road. Just off the road, I'm gonna try to keep up with him. We now on the north of the camp, Djuma camp, we boundary with Beetles, due north. One of the dam, it's called Tamboti Dam. Oh, they're on the road again, So I'm gonna talk to the radio quickly. Station, we've got another Ingwe, maybe 2, on west of Tamboti Dam, moving west, but lots skittish. Let's try keep up. He's probably actually after the female. That looks like the other one is a female. It's an amazing. Yeah, when we're trying to keep up the log going here at the western side of Tamboti Dam, moving, probably running into Beetles at the moment. It's very an excitement to see leopard that we're not sure of. So here it's very tall grass where we're gonna have to look. Sometimes we may drive past them. I'm going to turn around here, go back to the road again. So a leopard like that, they're very shy. Maybe they haven't actually been close to the vehicle so much. Or been shy in general, their behavior. What I see there looks like he's also smelling on the road, wherever the female have moved through. So the grass is very tall. Happens maybe they just flat. Checking us out, what we're doing, and they'll probably come out again. That is an area here we're gonna work around just to see if we come right again. So I'm gonna check through roads. Hope we come right with our skittish leopard.
Welcome to my car. This is Wendy, and she's my favorite. She would love to have your name engraved on her so you can be with her every single time she goes on a safari here in Djuma. If you become a WildEarth explorer, you will have the opportunity to buy an engraved tag which we will attach to her. We will make sure to send you a digital picture to show you exactly where you are sitting on her. You will have front row seat in every single sighting.
Something very, very interesting. I didn't plan this, but this is a scene, rarely seen. This is what we call a journey of giraffe. So beautiful.
Tune into WildEarth every single day. It's in your nature. Have you been watching WildEarth and dreamt of being right there on safari with one of the guides? Well, now you can. WildEarth is offering you a chance to buy a ticket to dream. You or a friend can hop on board a live WildEarth show and join our guide on safari. The ticket is redeemable at any of our locations anytime in the future. Only a limited number of tickets are available, so don't wait. Get your ticket now and start dreaming. Terms and conditions apply.
My name is Ross and I'm a field guide at andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. I love getting questions from guests on WildEarth because I love sharing and learning information about nature with new people, and it also makes me feel like you're all joining me in real life. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit your question below our live feed.
Or you might remember there was a hyena with the zebra. I just want to tell you what unfolded there. So the zebra followed the hyena all the way around. Another hyena emerged, and he actually it was like the hyenas were taunting the zebra, and the zebra just started chasing them, and he chased them off into the thicket. Now the zebra is still grazing there, and the hyenas have disappeared. That was quite funny. Hippo's still bopping up and down. It's really amazing to me how they manage to hide those large bodies of theirs, and just the small round ears, the eyes and the nostrils stick out when they come up. Perfectly adapted to stay under the water, sheltered from the sun, and to keep their big bodies cool. This morning we were also around a waterhole, and we were also looking at hippos. And then I mentioned that these hippos will come out a little bit later when it starts getting cooler. That's when they'll go look for some grass to feed on. And what you often see, I can't see one of those pathways from here, but what you often see next to these water sources where hippos stay is a prominent pathway. Now, it's not like the game trails that you normally see in the bush here, but it's almost looks like a small, like a car track, almost like two tire tracks, because their legs are so wide apart, and then there's like a little ridge in the middle, or in Afrikaans we'd say a middelmannetjie. So that's quite a distinct little pathway of the hippos, and they use those same paths every night when they go out grazing. They can go quite far. Sometimes they'll walk up to 15 kilometers. I've read that they say they've recorded them walking up to 30 kilometers, but that's not common, in search of food, and that's obviously in the drier months when food isn't as abundant as it is now. Once again, only the ears, the nostrils and the eyes, and then they disappear. You just see bubbles. Oh, there's a nostril. So Klaus is asking, how long can hippos submerge? Klaus, they can stay underwater for around 6 minutes if they want to. That's why I was saying earlier it's so difficult to count them, because you count a few heads and then they go under, and then you see heads popping up all around that again. So it can be quite difficult. I have tried timing them though. when they were static like this, normally they move around a little bit, but sometimes you'll see them in the same spot going up, down, up and down, up and down. And I've actually never seen one staying underwater as long as 6 minutes, but that's what the books will tell you. And at the moment, I don't think they're actually staying under for that long. They're coming up quite frequently. But they've got very sensitive skin, and also they don't have any sweat glands, so that's why they stay in the water for most of the day. Try and keep themselves cool. I wish I could get into the water right now. There are also crocodiles in this waterhole, so that would not be the wisest decision, because the hyenas are back. On the other side, those two hyenas are back, and it seems like the zebra, he's kind of escorting them towards the rest of the herd there. Let's just see. Okay, there's the one in front. There's the zebra. Yep, he's chasing them again. Watch. There's the other one in the back. So it seems like that's the stallion, and I think he might be trying to keep them away from the rest of the herd. I can't see if there are any foals there. Maybe one or two youngish zebras, but no tiny foals. And what a guy, he's protecting his ladies. And I think it's a good move on his part. These hyenas... Alright, we're going to quickly send you over to Andrew.
So now we got a visual again of our leopard. Just walking past by here. I'm gonna go backwards. Looks like he's behind the female at the moment. He was busy calling out. Whether he lost the female.
Yeah, take it. Stop it.
There we are. It's actually a decent male though then. But it's not easy to stick with us. We're gonna try and keep up with him while he's moving in a direction. At the same time, I'm trying to communicate with other vehicles because I told them that there's a leopard that is skittish in this area. Yeah, station looks like I found this Ingwe again. But he is now crossing Kaiman's axis, heading into that few pens. He's now on the road heading east then. I cannot tell which one is this yet. Not sure. It's got a full body like a quarantine, but I don't think he came this far. Could it be the shy male from maybe north? Some of you know of Lowati, which I haven't actually met him yet. Could be him, maybe, I'm not sure. There he is. So he's not actually paying a lot of attention to look around, or he's just concentrating on moving. So for now, he's moving north, back north, probably where he come from, I think. So yeah, sorry everyone, I was trying to turn around there. So yeah, it looks like he's moving so fast. Since where there was a female, she probably moved this way. And that's why we're very much interested to know if she moved this way, then he looks like he's behind her trail where she have moved. They're very good on tracking one another, then he would actually make a calls quite a lot. Looking at us. He didn't look at us for long. With that kind of a call that I had back there, and don't know if that will do it. Okay, thanks viewers. Yeah, for now I think it would make sense if I'm watching, because then I know you come this far sometimes. And it's actually a beautiful male there. If it's him, oh, it is. We're trying to keep distance as much as we can, because standing around. Actually, scent marking. He's all like contacting again. The sound that we just heard. So this is not all about hunting right now. It's all about, for him coming in here, probably claim this area. And the female that is in the area is going to be taken by him. So we're going to try and move forward. We try to stick on the road because we don't want to push him too much. We'll keep her running away from us. So Sky is saying it looks like he's marking and patrolling. Looks like it indeed. And for that scent marking there, what we saw, and the growling, it's kind of like territorial vocalization he's doing. So it's probably one of these challenge around here. The male that you would be around, he would be facing him shortly. I wonder if he's still on the road or off the road. So we still got him, but it's going to be a very difficult one now. We're going down to we're going lower ground in this area. He's probably just listening around. Just lay down. Thank God for that. We can stop chasing you, boy. It's one of the full-grown male cedar dewlaps that's hanging. Just like the Tingana we just saw. He's also had a dewlap. Full-grown male also had this one. Listening to probably response of that female she was around. Yeah, everyone I also think that is very much still in his prime condition. He still look neat though, fresh looking animal. He's even beautiful though. He checks out around here. And the female that was around here, I'm not sure, couldn't actually have a good look of which one was it. No, don't go that far. Looks like he's gonna go off that road again. Okay, now driving with him in the bush, he will be pushed so much. I'm gonna see what I'm going to do. So I'm gonna see if I'll get another visual, but I don't want to push too much in these long grasses here. But let's see what happened.
I am intrigued to know who Andrew's male leopard was. Who on earth was it? Now, Kalamba's here, so we're just looking extremely careful. Or carefully, sorry. The sun's at that height where it really works against you, but the interesting thing is she's on Little Gowrie. I find that fascinating. It's really far south of Kalamba's normal territorial movement. She's either expanding or shifting slightly. This is far south for her, but I know she's here somewhere. I think she's gone flat. So we're just trying our very, very best to see if we can see a rosette. Why I want to stay with her is I want to see where she goes. Is she going to go further south into Little Gowrie, Sabui's territory, or is she going to come back north again, or maybe even go east into Torchwood? Her mother's believed to be on Chitwa. I'm going to drive straight into this tree. This was not a good idea, Lauren. And Tandy's very close by. So what is Kalamba doing? Moving out of her normal sort of patterns. But it's getting cooler, that's one thing. It's getting a lot cooler. So I imagine she'll hop up soon. She's somewhere here. It really is raining leopards after all. Well done, Andrew. Okay, hopefully we'll see those little black and white ears pop up very soon.
You are back with Owen and I at andBeyond Phinda, and at last, after a long day of driving around in the sun, we've managed to find a cheetah. Well, when I say we, one of the members of the conservation team was out looking for this young female cheetah today, and they were actually able to find her. And we saw their vehicle from a distance off not long after we left that black rhino. I know it's not the best view. I suppose the black rhino, I suppose, was the same also. Quite a tough view. This cheetah lying in this very thick grass. And she did stand up and move around a little while ago. She was lying under one of these sickle bushes. And just before we got her, she apparently stood up and moved into the clearing here. So I wonder if it's not maybe just trying to get into the breeze a bit more. Maybe also wanting to leave the tangle of the branches of the sickle bush. Might hamper her escape. We often speak about a cheetah and how vulnerable they are to being so slight and slender compared to the bigger predators, like those enormous male leopards that you guys have been seeing this afternoon over at Djuma. So, unfortunately, that's pretty much the only view that I think we're going to get of her for a little while. Looking at the top of her head, she's looking from the left to the right. See her ears every now and then, how they flick, just keeping flies away. There might also be, look how the grass is moving around her, there might also be little blades of grass that every now and then get blown into her ear and give her ear a bit of a tickle. Very sensitive ears, obviously very important to keep them as clean as possible, keep foreign bodies out of them, so those ears are very sensitive. Any movement inside of them, any strange feeling, and she'll flick that ear to try and get rid of whatever is causing the irritation. And that is apparently what alerted our conservation team to this cheetah. Just saw her ears flicking in the grass, so they must have stopped to look around and scan, and then just that subtle movement in the grass caught their attention. Again, a bit like that black rhino. I was just saying to Owen now, if we'd been driving past here and we hadn't seen one of those ears flicking, there's no ways we would have seen this cheetah. She's just too well camouflaged. I mentioned earlier that we might expect a cheetah like this, a lone female, to be coming to the end of her bout of activity for the day at this time of the evening, where she may have used the cool of the earlier afternoon to try and hunt. But I think now with the sun heading towards the horizon, finding a safe spot to sleep is going to be her priority. And I think where she is right now, although there are quite a few sickle bush thickets around that are quite dense, I think this is about as good as she's going to get for this area. Jerome, you're saying she looks very cozy. I suppose she does, Jerome. Tucked away in her little glade of grass there. Oh, she's looking towards us. Did you get to see her eyes through the grass there, everybody? Those orange eyes. She might... Oh. I thought she was going to sit up for us. But quite the opposite. She's lain completely flat. So she was lying initially in that very typical cheetah pose with her body... Oh, there we go. Head back up again. was going to say, she was lying in that very typical cheetah pose, body flat on the ground and then the neck crooked up. But then just for a second there, she laid her head completely flat. There you go, she's up. Look at how beautiful she is. That lovely coat. And walking slowly, slowly, slowly through the grass. Now, this is a young female that many of you may be familiar with, quite easily recognizable by the fact that she's wearing a radio collar. She was a cheetah that was reintroduced or introduced onto Phinda a couple of months ago, and she's still wearing the collar just to allow our conservation team to be able to monitor her progress, to make sure that she's doing okay, that she's catching food for herself and eating. Oh, she's going to go lie down in a different spot now. She's moving up the hill a little bit more, moving away from the sickle bush thickets, trying to find a slightly better spot to sleep. Of course, the higher up the slope she goes, the more exposed she's going to be, but the better her view of her surroundings will be from up there. And that's, of course, going to be of utmost priority for her in terms of trying to find a safe spot to rest. Amazing how carefully she was, or how carefully she walked from this little glade of grass up there, walking very slowly and watching all around her as she walked, trying to keep her awareness as high as possible. Oh, but it was just such a treat getting that glimpse of her standing up out of the grass after looking at nothing but flicking ears for what felt like an eternity. Yogeshwar, you're asking if I've ever seen an albino cheetah in the wild. Yogeshwar, I've never seen one in the wild, and come to think about it, I don't even think I've seen a picture of one. What we tend to see more commonly with cheetah in terms of genetic mutations is a kind of mutation that leads to the overproduction of melanin in the cheetah's coat. So the cheetah ends up with kind of more stripes than spots on their body, and it's often referred to as a king cheetah. It's not a different species, it's the same species, it's just that it looks a little bit different. And as I was saying, the spots are all so close together and all almost interlinked to the extent that the cheetah looks like it's got stripes. And I've got a picture of one in my animal book, so I'm just going to pull that up for you, Yogeshwar, so that you can see it. Perhaps you are already familiar with the king cheetah, but here's a picture here. Sorry, Owen. There's a picture right over there. So see how, obviously there's the regular cheetah with its spots all separated out like that. And then the king cheetah with, like I said, almost looks like stripes. And look at its back there. It's almost like it's got a cape, like a black cape that goes down its back. And there around the rump almost looks like zebra stripes. The spots are almost fused together. Very attractive. But unfortunately, it's a genetic mutation that, a little bit like the white lions at Ngala, they tend not to survive very well in the wild. Obviously, cheetah have evolved the color coat that they have for a specific reason, and that's the color coat that enables them to survive better. And the fact that the king cheetah don't survive in the wild as well, the fact that we don't see more of them all over the place, tells us that that particular coat color is not as good for survival as their regular spotted coat. So that's why we don't see them in the wild. You might get a glimpse every now and then where this cheetah is of a large wooden structure. And don't worry, it's not a jungle gym or a jumping castle or anything like that. It's an anti-poaching tower. So it's where our anti-poaching patrols will often spend the night to scan the plains for any signs of suspicious activity. And as important as it is for humans, we mentioned that this cheetah is going up the slope here to try and get a bit of height, to have a bit of vantage point. We've often found cheetah, especially coalitions of males, using these towers as vantage points, as places to scan their territory for prey and for rivals. It's also, like we've spoken about before, especially with male cheetah, when they scent mark, they like to mark on prominent posts, things like big trees, prominent termite mounds, and they'll often go to the same posts and scent mark profusely all over those posts, spraying their urine and defecating on them as well. And this poaching tower, anti-poaching tower rather, is no different. If you go up there on the steps, shame, the poor anti-poaching teams have to shovel cheetah scat off of their front door every now and then. And I suppose if they were to arrive in the evening and there were cheetah on the anti-poaching tower, they might have to delay their watch by a little bit, might have to wait for a bit before they can actually get inside. And that... she's a bit tough to see, everybody, but she does seem to be quite... She's not nervous around us. She seems fine, but she does look like she's looking to settle down for the evening, so I'm a bit hesitant to go kind of pushing around into the bushes there. And I think with her being like this and obviously looking for a place to settle down for the evening, I don't think we're going to push it anymore with her. We're going to leave her to finding a nice spot to rest, give her some time before the sun sets to settle in for the night, give her some time to get her senses attuned to her surroundings, to obviously give her the best possible chance of making it through the night. But awesome that we managed to achieve that goal of seeing this cheetah. We set out to try and find her, and we've managed to see her now. So we're going to leave her, and while we do that, let's go across to Andrew.
Thanks, Damon. And yeah, it's about the same here where now the only difference is that the leopard have moved into very thick stuff, since Wayne is now pushing back to the direction where we picked them up, and then we checked another road which he also crossed again. So this is actually a road taking us back to where we find them more luckily. So they've probably been disturbed if they're very shy, and of course they've been disturbed by us. That's why we need to keep a distance as much as we can whenever we have a sighting of them. So they will finally some days figure out that we're not harming them. But he's very straight, that male, the way he scent mark and growl around here. This is actually a challenge. He's showing his strength, strongest, that any situation would occur here, he would handle it. I wonder if Tingana didn't actually hear that call, because it will make him wonder what's happening. But he won't leave his kill there. He's probably going to just finish it off before he take care of all what is happening here. I also want to know which female is it. And if Talamba should have been seen up in the south, and then this is not actually Shinduli's territory. Maybe it could be one of the female up north, or Luna. I think I haven't actually seen her quite sometimes. Jerome, so he's saying he's such a beautiful cat. We hope that we get to see him again. I also really hoping to get to see him again and coming in the area. Such a cool cat though. He's actually fit. His body size stunning, beautiful. So now there's two vehicles here. Another vehicle joined me. I think they're going to check the other side while we're checking this side. Kennedy, so you're asking if you would cause trouble with another leopard around here? Yes, the males. The other male that are here, we have a Tingana, and then slightly west of here, Djuma there is a Hokumuri. These are other males that wouldn't really tolerate each other. And the destruction that you may do if it's when the other female around there, they also have their cubs, which is then they will be having problem with their cubs getting killed from unknown males trying to claim to be dominating around here. So leopards don't tolerate another leopard's gene pool. They always push off different offsprings and reestablish theirs, showing of a dominant. These are one of the destruction we may see happen, which is not good. So I'm gonna still checking around here. I'm gonna be sending you across to Lorraine.
Andrew, I hope that was Mulwati for you. Andrew's been desperate to see Mulwati for quite some time, so I hope it was. If it's someone that's calling and scent marking, then it has to be a dominant territorial male. Big bird. Davi says, ooh, big bird. Okay, let's figure out this big bird together. So I need to get my binos out. Bear with me. I think it could be Mr. Wahlberg. And it will be the Mr. Why? Because we're at the Mulwati and they have a nest here. And within that monogamous pair, the female is the pale morph and the male is the dark morph. Well spotted, Davi. And you see those sort of feathers on the crown of the head that stand up. Almost looks like bedhead. That's a real key feature of the Wahlbergs. Because they can look similar to Tonys. A lot of the raptors can look similar. The Tonys can look similar to the steppe. They all sort of merge in. You've got to stop, look, and pick out the key identification features. And I think this is Mr. Wahlberg. But the other pair are opposites. It's the female that's the dark morph and the male that's the pale morph. Aren't they just the most beautiful birds? I love Wahlberg eagles. They're not particularly large. They have a very large wingspan, but they're not particularly heavy-bodied. We also get the lesser spotted eagle out here as well, but that is, believe it or not, lesser spotted. That's not why it's called the lesser spotted, but we just don't see it so much here, but we do get it. Highly visual, so I've been perched up the top of this boar beam here, getting a 360-degree visual of the ground below. And they mostly feed on birds, but they don't really tend to snatch the birds out the air. They'll swoop down and use their talons to grab the birds. But also small mammals, gerbils, dwarf mongoose, possibly even a small scrub hare. Reptiles and frogs. Frogs are such easy pickings for many of the predators here in summer. So I'm going to bumble onto the hyena den with high hopes that they might be there, and I have to send you across to Andrew with something.
Thanks, Lauren. So we're now looking at the sunset, which is showing this beautiful golden yellow, as you can see, everyone there. And at the same time, when we're stopping here, we're all listening to an audio of that our leopard again. But since then, there's no kind of a communication that happened. And all I heard was a grey lurry, grey go-away bird. Go away. Go away, making its call. But also they can tell you there's something around there, but it was only twice. And a stop. There is again. Here's the sun set. It's going to be about nocturnal time for the animal that does move at night. Come out, move about, do their activity. Those are scent marking, they will be scent marking. Those will be hunting, they will be hunting. Some they will do both, scent marking and hunting. These two that we just saw here, I think there's no hunting. It's probably the business that is going on there, mating, I think. Or I'm not sure, probably that you just get into an area, hook up with a female, checking their status. Dear watcher is saying it's such a beautiful sunset. Indeed it is. It's actually open sky. All you see is a little bit of a cloud. Moving across the rising of the sunset. So that's beautiful, bringing all of a beauty of a yellow golden sky or clouds. And all of the sound that you hear from birds. So it's all about the final communications for the night. I'm going to be sending you across to Phinda while I'm checking around here again. Welcome back to andBeyond Phinda. Owen and I are sitting on a ridge looking out to the west and just watching the most incredible clouds come rolling in. It literally looks like the sky is on fire at the bottom there, and there's a big cloud of black smoke over the top of it. And the clouds very slowly, if you keep your eyes fixed, or obviously with the camera being fixed, you'll be able to see it.
But look at how the clouds are very slowly drifting from the left to the right. All very low-level clouds being pushed in the same direction as the wind is blowing on the surface. Like I said, kind of coming from the south. And we've had a couple of glimpses beyond this first row of clouds into the distance, towards kind of the escarpment, and it looks like there's ominous clouds coming in our direction from there. I don't think they're going to catch us out. They won't catch us before the end of drive. We'll get home dry. But Owen was also just saying now he thinks that we might get some rain tonight. And this is typically the direction where we get our rain coming from, is coming from the south or from the west. But just absolutely spectacular. I think there's going to be a phenomenal, well, it's happening right now, sunset. But the fact that we can't see the sun actually coming down beyond those clouds means that there's definitely some stormy weather out to the west. Look at how the colors are changing very slowly. Those reds that were on the lower clouds are now going to more yellowy golden color. I don't know if you can hear that bird in the background going tim 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 tim. It may be a new bird species for some of you. It's called a croaking cisticola. One that I don't think we've managed to film yet on WildEarth. We'll have to try and do that at some stage. But out here in these grasslands, perfect habitat for them. The flat open plains. Apparently all of you are just commenting on how beautiful the sky is. It's absolutely spectacular. The hues of the very subtle hues, like greys and blues and purples, that just kind of all mold together. Not mold, melt together, sorry. And there again, the hues and those lower clouds changing again. Now going a more orangey colour. So it's gone from red to gold to a hot orange. Now it literally looks like flames. It's just so peaceful as well. Isn't that same oppressive heat from the sun anymore? Can finally stop squinting our eyes. There's a lovely cool breeze blowing over us. And then just lovely to watch that sun go down. Listening to the birds calling their last. There's a very noisy rattling cisticola going chee, 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 chee in the background. And a couple of melodious whistles that coming from the left-hand side, coming from the east. There's a black-crowned chagra that's calling. That's the one making those whistles. How lovely was that? Just to take some time to stop and just enjoy the wonderful show that these clouds have been putting on for us. As they keep marching in, Owen and I are going to keep on moving. We're a long way from anywhere, so we're going to keep on driving and see what we can find for you as darkness starts to set in.
My name is Taylor McCurdy and I work for Eco Training. I love hearing from all of the viewers. However, I particularly enjoy those of you who have been watching for a few years. Your questions are just so advanced and they really get me thinking. If you'd like to ask a question on WildEarth, you need to register on our website. Once you've done that, head to the live safari page and submit your questions below the live feed.
For the month of January 2021, we are offering a chance to win a unique WildEarth expedition to the magnificent Tswalu Kalahari. From the ancient Kortai's Koranenberg Mountains to the southern Kalahari's red sand dunes, Tswalu offers what travelers crave most: space and time. The winner will explore this landscape in a vehicle, on foot, or on horseback, with a chance to go behind the scenes with WildEarth and of course meet the meerkats. The prize includes a 3-night stay for you and a friend at the luxury multi-lodge, including flights from either Johannesburg or Cape Town. Open to all WildEarth explorers who have signed up before the end of January 2021. Terms and conditions apply.
What makes andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve so special is our massive array of habitats. And with that comes, of course, a beautiful diversity of landscapes, but also an incredible biodiversity in terms of plants, bird life and animal life, as well as, of course, our conservation success stories with cheetah, with rhinos, now with pangolins too.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth.
And my day is complete. The Misikaya, as they call it here, the hyena home, is active. We've got Miss Ribbon, who definitely has feasted on something, judging by the size of that belly. And Ngwazi and Shimbulu nestled underneath her. We also have Heart's cubs nestled under the car. No sign of Heart, though. I believe she's with Mr. Tingana. And no sign of Corky's daughter either, or June's little bug. It is so nice to see them. We got a brief view of them yesterday, but there was no adult, so of course we left. But since Ribbon's here, in her usual spots, I mean, this is Ribbon's throne. She does not move very far from it. She's always here. I wonder how she's walking. We lost Miss Klalamba. We tried very hard to relocate her, but she did sort of cross into Little Gowrie, and that's an area that we cannot traverse. I don't think she'll go deep into Little Gowrie, but it's just interesting to find her that far south. Again, actually, Davi and I had her fairly recently in the Mulwati, very, very far south. Ribbon, my dear, what did you have? I would love to know. Either way, she is full. I haven't seen June in a few days. We saw Corky recently. Ribbon is so easy to identify from that ear, but she's actually not very scarred. If you look at Corky, Corky's face is quite heavily scarred. She looks like she's had a tough time, shall we say. I can hear you too. I don't know what you're doing, but I don't think it's good. Wendy's already not in great condition. I'm in a little bit of trouble with the car. Maybe that's what's wrong with the car. I can just hear them clanging and banging. And maybe that's why Wendy's damaged. Renshia, you're saying you love to see how the cubs suckle. It's very cute, isn't it? It's very sweet. Tender moment. And Ribbon's boys are big. They're coming up for 10 months. They're big boys, they're not small, but of course hyenas do have that protracted lactation period. So they've still got a fair bit to go before they really stop suckling from mum. Well into this year. I wonder what Ribbon's boys will decide to do. Will they be the ones to stay in their NATO clan, or will they disperse? Swazi doesn't seem to be going anywhere. He's of that age, he's of dispersal age, he's also sexually mature now, but he doesn't appear to be leaving anytime soon. I think Ribbon's putting on her weight again. I think she's healing. She's full. She'll slowly start to put muscle mass back on again. She's absolutely fine. I do wonder what happened, though. There is a video on social media. I'm sure many of you have seen it. It's very difficult to watch, actually. It's Blondie, the avoca, attacking one hyena quite violently. And it's not easy to watch. The hyena does escape, but I can imagine it will be quite wounded. And it's not a Djuma clan member. It's an Elephant Plains clan member. But it's quite a brutal attack. Reminded me of Corky, that famous sighting of what happened with Corky in Darkmane. Corky was just eating something that she scavenged, and it was at den number 1, Philemon's den number 1, not this one. And little did she know Darkmane was stalking her, and he ambushed her. Stole whatever she was eating, but also attacked her. It was a tough sighting to watch. But she bounced back, and she stayed as matriarch. It wasn't until later that she lost her position. Ribbon can't keep her eyes open. Look, she's trying to stay alert. Some of you are wondering if hyenas get any emotional scarring. I'm not sure if that's a real thought or not, but Ribs, maybe you can answer. If you can keep your eyes open for longer than 2 seconds. Good question. I believe that most organisms are emotional beings. I really do. It's difficult. Those questions are very difficult to answer. How would we really ever know? Do they grieve? Do they feel emotions? I personally do. I read a wonderful book called What a Fish Knows. It's one of my favourite books to date, and there's a large section on emotions in fish. Yes, can you believe it? So I think most organisms in the animal kingdom have something that could be termed emotions. But I'm sure there'll be many differing opinions on that. That I believe so. I think animals will feel loss of some sort. But there's no choice. There's no choice but to survive. Watching Ribbon's actually making me feel really sleepy. Are you awake there, Davy?
Only just.
Only just. It's amazing how watching something sleep can make you feel sleepy. Our Lara Moore, normally 18 months. It can go to 2 years. It can suckle from mum for 2 years, but normally around the 18-month mark. They will fully make that transition. No more milk and full-time meat. It's a very, very long lactation period. Very energetically costly for mum to produce that milk. But it's one of the richest milks in the mammalian world, at least. It's incredibly rich. And that's why hyenas, one of the reasons that they're so strong and robust and resilient. I don't know if this is Nkwazi or Shambulu, but whoever it is falling asleep. I would love to show you hearts too, but they're still under the car. They're actually here, Dobby, but I'm not entirely sure you'll be able to get a few of them. Hello? Are you camera shy today? No, why are you being shy? Oh, they're very subdued. Maybe it's because Mom has been with Chingana for a few days now, or at least 2 days, and they haven't actually seen her. Okay, well, I'm not going to go anywhere. Dobby and I are going to sit here and enjoy this moment. Try not to fall asleep, but for now, we're going to send you across to Andrew.
Good luck, Lauren. So now we checked a few roads there, nothing came out, and we're just gonna. I'm making another plane now to. And this morning was a male lion that was lying in one of their dam wall. So just to see if he's there and what he's doing right now, because it's getting slightly cool off. May that happened. He will be very much interested on maybe roaring or maybe moving for us. Or maybe we're just lying flat. Welcome back to andBeyond Phinda. Sorry about that, everybody. Apparently you got an abrupt ending there with Andrew. Unfortunately, sometimes things like that can happen out here in the bush with the challenges of bringing you live footage from the wilderness of Africa. It's inevitable that every now and then there will be some technical glitches. But Owen and I have managed to find a small group of buffalo as we've been trying to make our way back in the direction of the mountains, out of the plains. And just looking through my binoculars, it's rather tough to see from where I'm sitting. I think you guys might have a slightly better view. But it looks like they've all got very big, pronounced, kind of bony bosses on their heads. So it looks like it might be a bachelor herd. A herd of buffalo bulls, a small group of buffalo bulls. I can see at least 4 or 5 of them. Oh, Owen's saying that, oh yeah, the one lying down. Have a look at that one lying down there, everyone. Look at its left horn. The horn obviously then on the right hand side of its body for us. And how it's broken. And looking at the other buffalo's bosses, those kind of bony helmets on their heads, they all look pretty heavily weathered. And their hides as well, especially the bull on the far left, he's already missing a large chunk of fur, a large patch of fur across his back. So although none of their horns look particularly impressive, they seem to be older buffalo. Maybe bulls that just couldn't keep up with the herd anymore, bulls that couldn't make it in the herd. They got moved away or pushed out by a bigger, stronger, more dominant buffalo. And they've now just formed their own little group. Once again, safety in numbers. Helps to have several extra sets of eyes and nostrils and ears to help to keep a lookout for danger. That second buffalo, see how it's just laying down? I wouldn't be surprised if the other 2 follow suit shortly. Now, where we're sitting, there's quite a large waterhole
that is to our west, and that seems to be where these buffalo have come from. So wouldn't be surprised if they've already gone and had a drink later in the evening, and they've been feeding their way through this grassland, and now it's time, with the coming of evening or the coming of nightfall, it's time for them to lie down and start to ruminate, chew the cud and rest for a bit. But while those two lie down, look at this one that's closest to us, and how it's been staring at us the whole time. Jackson, you're asking if buffalo ever sleep. Jackson, they will do. I suppose they will close their eyes. I've seen buffalo lying with their eyes closed and chewing the cud, funny enough. Jackson, I'm trying to think though if I've ever seen a buffalo fully put its head down onto the ground. And in my experience, I've never actually seen a buffalo doing that. Very interesting thought. But I have seen them with their eyes closed, chewing the cud, head off the ground, finish chewing the cud, and then kind of lie there with their head kind of flopping down, but not touching the ground quite. That's about the most restful that I've seen a buffalo get. See how it's now looking off to the right, but then back towards us. The wind has died down quite a bit, everybody, and it was also blowing from the buffalo towards us. So from here, they won't be able to smell us, but they can no doubt see us and hear us. And I think this buffalo here just wanting to analyze the situation a bit more, to make sure that we're not a threat to it, or just to see what we're going to do before it commits to lying down with the rest of its herd mates. There we go. There's a buffalo that just put its head down. Jackson, there you go. That's what you're asking about. The buffalo just behind this one. No ways. We were just talking about that. Ooh. Something just gave him a fright. Did you see that? Did you see how he jumped? He started. Maybe a movement in the grass there, like a quail or a button quail. See this one now starting to, I don't know if you saw there where it started to chew a little bit. Maybe getting ready to start, maybe getting ready to start chewing the cud. My mouth is terribly dry, everybody, sorry. It's been a very hot day out here. Well, wouldn't you know it, Andrew has found another big cat for all of you. So I think as we leave these buffalo to continue with their rest, let's go across and see what kind of big cat it is.
Thanks, Damien. So we got our male lions, as we spoke about. We're going to visit here just to see how he's doing. He's getting up. Oh, he limps. So that man, he always limp. Not sure what happened to him. He's been actually limping since a while ago. Prurification taking place. Might get luck of him drinking because the water hole is just on the other side.
Some are walking on the road again.
Turn around, stick with him. Left him this morning and it was about to drizzle, and you walk into this position. This is where he spend most of the day in these grasses. Getting up in a dam wall. Just gonna try and reposition, yeah. Moment of a silence. Again. What a sound. He's just now on top of the dam wall. That was all about territorial communication, and at the same time listen if he's going to be having any response from the girls, and that will be a Talamati pride, where it actually looks like they've been seen far east. Eric asking what happened to his paw. I'm not sure. Maybe probably during trying to kill some big game, or during a chase of other animal. It happens when they step into the holes when they run. They can get a very serious injury. So every time he lies down, whatever the pain it is, maybe a crack of a bone or a muscle that twist, it chills a bit or relax. When he moves, it feels painful until it's normal when he moves for a long time. Switch everybody to an IR light, which is now getting very dark. So we're going to be using an infrared light, so we don't disturb him. What we're hearing on the background, it's impalas. If we can take another moment of a silence, just listen to the impalas shouting from distance. We're gonna stay put here. Hopefully give us another roar again. We're gonna be sending you across to the Lorraine.
Lucky you, Andrew. It's been a long time since I've heard a lion roar. Now, Corky's daughter has joined the party, but she's also under the car, so we can't give... Oh. Ribbon, you're one tired bunny. You see all those teeth? 34 teeth. Is that flies? Oh. It's not so pleasant to look at, is it? She probably has some body parts or blood on her arm and it's attracting all the flies. Not so pleasant. I was hoping some more adults would join us. But so far it's only Ribbon. And I know I say this every day, but it's just a timing thing. The den is always active. It's just too hot. Matthew, yes we do. I mean, just like leopards, today we thought we were going to Sabui. That's what got called in on the radio, so your expectation is Sabui. But the minute you see that leopard, I thought, no, something's wrong. Immediately I knew it was Tlalamba. So that also starts to happen with the hyenas. You do look at their spot pattern, but once you spend as much time with them as we do, we spend hours upon hours with this clan, you can start to recognize them facially as well. They are all different, and admittedly I make mistakes all the time. It depends on the angle as well, but at least with the 5 females, I'm not very good with the males, but the 5 females that we have, they're all so distinctive. Really, if you just take a closer look, you can't mistake them. And of course, the cubs are all different sizes, different age groups. So yes, Matthew, we do look at the spot pattern, absolutely. But hyenas are notorious for getting notches out of their ears and scars and lumps and bumps. And that also helps us to identify them. I mean, Ribbon's left ear is so, you can't mistake that. It's a little butterfly ear. She's not comfortable, is she? Oh, look at all those flies. Ribbon, what are you doing? Aladdin. Yes, you are right, she does. She looks like she's swallowed a small horse. Absolutely. Beach ball. Typical hyenas. They never know when they're going to get their next meal, really. Now, so Ngwazi and Shimbulu are awake, so I see. Everyone has to take their turn to come and sniff the car. It's very important. It's highly prioritized as part of the hyena cub days to come and sniff the car. But yes, if you're a scavenger full stop, like vultures are, you really don't know when your next meal is going to come. So you do gorge yourself. So sorry, everyone. Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry. Davi also has his hand covering his mouth. My goodness, which one of you is smelling so awful? Wow, I normally tell people that you guys don't smell bad. It's really bad. Okay, everyone, I'm going to delicately put a cloth over my face, and we're now going to send you across to Marna and her giraffe.
show you all of his tika with his hair. Sorry, Ngala. So, just another. So you just call as we back to him. Indeed, this is an amazing timing for everyone to come back to us. I think nothing goes to waste here. He didn't miss much. He only done now twice since. This is actually second time when he did it, when we were with him. And he went off to Ngala, come back to us, and this is the second time he does that again. But this time he actually did it while he's on the ground, right on the ground, his head. Or you feel the vibration from the ground. Adrian is asking if lions lose a lot of energy to roll. Not much. But only energy when they're moving and following the other pride around. That, of course, because they move so much. And as a male, they don't want to move a lot. Or hunting during the day, it's getting them so much tiring because they're just moving there, nothing benefit if they don't kill anything. But just from calling, it's a way of communication. But for his own benefit is to advertise this territory here. That he's around at the moment. So when he does that licking himself, the tongue itself is very rough. Will pluck the teeth out of the skin, bones possibly. If you look at the tail, it's actually tip end of it, pitch black. But this is when they follow one another, especially female when they lead the babies somewhere. They're gonna follow the black tip end of the tail. I'm gonna stay put while I'm sending you across to Lauren.
Ribbons up. She's definitely... No, okay. No, we're not up. No, we're back down again. Okay, false information supplied by Lauren there, but she's still limping. It doesn't look like it's improved that much. But I mean, look at her. She could not be any fuller. Aladdin said she swallowed a beach ball, and that she has. So she's absolutely fine, but she's definitely not walking as well as I would have hoped. Come on, Ribbon, show everyone. She's uncomfortable. She's really not comfortable. See, the cubs are starting to get more active, and that's because it's cooler. Sun's gone down. We're using infrared, obviously, and it's almost 7:30 here. The nocturnal animals are really starting to become awake. Diana, not necessarily. I touched on this earlier on in the drive, but because of the traffic that comes to the hyena den, it's a very popular place to come now. Everybody wants to come to the Misikaya. The sort of what used to be a 2-track has now turned into a fully blown road, and it's going to get a name very, very soon. And it leads you to each of the dens, and it leads you to Treehouse Dam. Now, because it used to be a 2-track, it used to be a game path, the animals still use it. Just because it's turned into a road for us, it's still a very prominent path for the animals. We found Shadulu on it yesterday, Kalamba uses it a lot, and the lions use it. I remember we had the Talamatis hunting here. They just missed a zebra not so long ago. And they were right at this termite mound. Guys, what are you doing? Oh, goodness, energy levels are up. So no, they're not really safe from lions, and that's another reason we don't really stay here without an adult. Although Ribbon is clearly not going anywhere fast, at least there's an adult hyena here if danger comes. If a vehicle stayed here without an adult, it just attracts the cubs to come out. They want to investigate your car. This is entirely normal behavior, and it could leave them really vulnerable to predators. I had a Shadulu sighting not so long ago where she was stalking the cubs. The cubs were out at the entrance, and they were sunbathing, no adults, and Shadulu was stalking them. So no, they're not really safe. I don't think any offspring youngsters are safe out here. Even predator cubs that are stashed in a den, or Impala lambs, chicks, anything. They're not safe. I wonder why the flies are only buzzing around Ribbon's front legs. As much as I love hyenas, and I really, really do, they're not known to be the most hygienic of creatures. So she probably has lots of interesting stuff stuck to her legs, and that's what the flies are after. I imagine she'll get active, though. Maybe not right now, maybe a bit later, but I do think Ribbon will get active. Reggie, you've never seen so many flies at night. I know, they're obviously, well, they cannot resist whatever Ribbon has. Oh, even the cubs smelling it. Yes, I know. We tend to not see them at night. It doesn't mean they're not swarming, but obviously we can see them very visibly now due to the infrared light. This is one very uncomfortable hyena. So we're going to sit here a little bit longer and enjoy this entertainment.
So our male lion, this time he hasn't actually roared again for the third time since he does it for the second time. And he's gonna just chill. And his tummy is still a little bit of a not 100% expand like what was yesterday. He hardly take a breath. When now he's actually breathing normal slightly. And this is showing a bit of a maybe wanting to get another meal to feed on. You never know, he might actually get lucky around stealing from the other or kill by himself. The buffalo that way around here also, they have crossed to the west. They haven't returned back to Gari at all. So they went across into Samambile and Aratuza, the whole herd of buffalo yesterday. So maybe they will come back. And not while he's still calling out to him because they will notice the dangers this way. And it's so cool that he spent 2 days in this area not to move too much far. We get to see him. Maybe tomorrow he'll be around or he will be moving about, but we're going to find out. Track him down if there's any track leading around that we can follow and hooked up with him again.
Ribbon has not moved much. The cubs are incredibly active. It is actually lovely to see them all active at night time. It's cool. They've probably slept all day. And it's time to investigate. Most nocturnal animals... Oh, I have to watch my head. You see the Tupidum lucidum? We went into detail about that last night. Most nocturnal organisms will have this. So all of these hyenas that we can see in front of us are very, very well adapted to seeing at nighttime. I wish we could have a hyena cam here, that we could all tune into and see who comes and who goes and what these little cubs get up to at nighttime. I can only imagine. And it's so important that they've got each other, because they do have quite a unique, specialized social structure. It's very important that the cubs have one another. They can learn from one another. They can play with one another. They can fight with one another. They're never alone. But June's little one is obviously not coming out the den so much. She's still very young. She'll sleep a lot more than these little munchkins. There she is. Corky's little one. She's captured my heart. They all call her Brave here. They all call her Braveheart. Nothing to do with Scotland. Just to do with the fact that she's incredibly brave. And I think Nkwazi and Shimbulu have got a lot to answer for that. They think she's got a big, brave heart. She has. I'm so glad we got to spend time with the Djuma clan. It was also fantastic to catch up with Princess T, and I believe Andrew has quite an incredible drive as well as all the other live locations that we've came to you from today. It's been quite the drive. I wonder if tomorrow it will still continue to rain leopards, but that means we must say goodnight. So thank you everyone for jumping on board. We really do hope to see you tomorrow. Until then, goodbye.